fastest time for this is a 9.1. That in a camper is absolutely mind-blowing. So welcome back to another video. You might have seen we're at one of the test days, and at these test days is where the weird and wonderful come. And we've just spotted this creation. This is a 9-second VW camper. The VW camper cruise is absolutely mind-blowing. I did a video on Instagram which was a VW camper with a Dodge Viper engine, and it went wild. So since I've spotted this thing, I had to dive in and have a look at what made this so special, because we've just watched it run up the quarter-mile and I think it's just run a low 9s. And talking to the owner, the fastest time for this is a 9.1, and I'll be honest with you, that in a camper is fast. So let's have a dive in and let's have a look why this camper is so special, so fast, and what makes it tick. So we'll dive in the rear end, because obviously it's rear wheel drive, and we'll start looking at the rear end. If I absolutely destroy this on specifications, I'm not very good on VW campers or VW kind of setups, I'll do my best. So we've got full on rear slicks, giant Hoosier slicks on the rear. I don't know if you can see that. And then obviously the magic area, which I'm told this is still based around the VW engine, because when I first came up I thought this was a Subaru engine, and the owner nearly choked on his sandwich. So it looks like, let's have a look, it looks like a lot of billet block. Have a nosy? Yeah, billet block. The heads look like they're going to be aftermarket, so the cam covers, but look at how close it is either side. So it's still in the original position of where it would be on a camper. Obviously this is where it sits. Fuel injection, obviously massive. It's on individual coils by the looks of things. It's on twin gates, a single gate, single gated. All really nice high-end equipment. Automotive giant fuel pump here. I would have thought it's on some kind of race fuel, because they're kind of the fuel pumps you use for race fuel. What looks like charge cooler ice canister. Is it, or is it, yeah, ice tank by the looks of things. It's on fuel tech. Obviously this is an ice tank, so I'm going to guess when he takes this off, he'll fill that with ice. And what I mean by a charge cooler is, obviously air will come through, and it will go through this and get cooled. Am I right? I'm trying to think, work it out. Is that how it works? And then it goes through the inlet system. No, maybe not. Maybe I'm completely wrong. No, I am wrong. It's not. It's not. It will be actually like a methanol base, because it's not actually intercooled. What I mean by not intercooled is obviously air intake, and then it goes down here and straight into the intake system, into the engine. And when you're on some kind of race fuels like methanol, it actually burns cooler than petrol, hence not needing an intercooler. But this thing is a work of art. Obviously some kind of dry sump setup, I would have thought here. Is it, I don't know if it's on a mechanic, anything like a mechanical additional pump. Really nice push rod system, fully space frame. There's the dry sump tank. Look at this thing, it is absolutely beautiful. Giant, well, it's not actually a giant turbo. I bet it's just very, very efficient for the size it is. Precision looks like something like a 62 turbo, I would have thought. Not the biggest turbo, probably the same size as what I'm on. No crankcase breather, must be a breather filter. Obviously the thing's on wheelie bars, kind of lifts up because it's rear wheel drive. The front end will come up, and that stops it from over rotating and causing issues. The bodywork looks relatively, to me again, someone might pick me up because I don't really know VW campers. It's looks very standardish for the camper van. Still on glass windows, still on the factory lights, but indicators by the looks of things. I just love how they've kept it all standard looking with this giant engine in the back. And then, like I say, down here, obviously they must monitor oil temperature, so obviously they don't run without. Right, I'm going to look like these are some kind of to do with the line locks. on the braking systems, on the clutching systems. Looks like a small lift pump here, which you'll prime up to a swirl pot. This here is a fancy little kit. That there is a clutch slipper by the looks of things, and what that does is it allows you to basically, when you take the foot off the clutch pedal, it gradually does it for you. So you don't. So basically, you're not dumping the clutch. So you can tune the clutch to come in when you need it to. So let's open this door and let's have a look inside and see what the inside's like of this beautiful machine. So obviously I've just opened the door to have a look inside, and all I can say is that seating position must be very, very strange on a drag car. It must be really, really strange. So let's dive in. Obviously all the doors cut out for weight, even though it's a full steel chassis car by the looks of things, but look at it in here. So seating position very high up, very close to the steering wheel. Obviously this is the pedal box, which looks like everything's on a pivot bearings to push and on these bars, which is all part of like the roll cage setup. Brilliant ECU, the Fueltech FT550. Really, really nice ECU setup. All the shift lights and a full, like what they class as a pro mod type wraparound cage, which fully protects the driver when if there any type of accident. And basically I would have said, looking over there, that I would guess is air powered chute. Well, it looks like, yeah, it must be a parachute then. It must be an air powered parachute, because I'm only guessing because of where it says chute on that little yellow tag, so it must have an air system to pull the parachute at the top of the run. Obviously I would have thought some kind of like drag box where it's just pull back or push forward for the gearing to lockouts, hydraulic handbrake, full safety equipment. But this thing is super nice, and I'll be honest with you, super fast, because a 9-second in something of this weight and size is very impressive. So this thing's very cool. So this thing is like a linear actuator, and I would guess this is for suspension travel. So when they're dialing in for the drag car, this will give an input to the ECU. So let's say hypothetically that it starts pulling the front wheels up and loads up the wheelie bar. This will detect that happening and will pull power gradually, so it will bring the front end back down. So this thing has got all the toys, and I can see why it makes the numbers it makes. So the car's on full weld racing forged wheels, very nice. It's also on stance brakes, which is very common with drag cars in the US. I think the rear is the same. Let's have a look. The rear doesn't look like, oh no, it has got disc. I can't really see what they are, but it is on disc. But it's on these, like I say, it's on these weld racing fuses on the rear. So this thing is super special, really impressive it. So let's have a look at that CO2 canister and see whether it is a pull cord. Well, maybe it's not a pull cord, so I'm going to ask the question. Maybe it is for the gate, because obviously that's the pull cord for the chute. So when a parachute, so what you do is this bar has an end on which goes through this loop, and then when you're at the top of the strip, you pull your bar, pulls the loop, lets the chute out. But that CO2 canister says, for some reason, says chute on it. I would have thought it might be an actuator on it, but possibly that CO2 canister then is for the actual wastegate control, because what they do is they put CO2 onto the gate so it can kind of hold it closed for a little bit longer. I need to have a closer look at the pipework. This is obviously the first time I've looked at it. Super interesting, all the little toys that people use to make these cars go fast and get them down the quarter mile. So obviously the thing I thought was a charge cool ice box connects to this pipe, and speaking to the owner, he's basically got an air filter in that box, and this is just a long cold air feed to the back of the engine, which comes through the cab, which goes through to the front grille, which I'll show you now, goes through what looks like the front grille section and feeds the rear engine. So I'll sign this video off. It's been a bit of a brief chat and a bit of a brief description of the van. It's been very hard to get into specs and text because of the day it is. These guys are working on their cars so they can go on the quarter mile all day. And for me to stop them from working, I've just had to kind of go around and say what I see. I apologise if I've destroyed the specifications. We've done our best to bring you something again a little bit different. So I'll sign this one off. I hope you've all enjoyed this 900 horsepower VW camper van, because this thing moves like I've never seen a camper van move before. So I'll sign it off. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you all on the next video.